we're doing a special version of the editor's cut sans Alex, of course. But what we're going to try and do is 5 of us in the studio, and each of us will present our views on a few key aspects around markets and elections. Naturally, Agam and Sajid join us. Obviously, Agam will talk a lot about derivatives and what the picture could be like. We know that Tamanna will speak about the political aspect. And between Samina, me and Sajid, we'll try and talk about what corporate and as well as markets could be thinking of. I'll start off with not the positioning, but the electoral fervor. And Tamanna, let's try and dissect this. Tomorrow, the exit polls. For people who are looking at the last half an hour of trade and wondering what the exit polls could show and what is it that they should keep an eye out for, what are the key things to keep in mind?
The first thing to keep in mind is exit polls are not an accurate representation of what will happen on June 4th.
But the market could react.
The market will react because the market is hungry to get information in advance and any cues. And the fact is that more and more over the last few elections, including state elections, you would have seen this in December as well, the ranges of the exit polls have gotten wider and wider.
Right.
Because it's the era of social media and no pollster wants to be caught and trolled afterwards saying that, you know, your poll was completely off. So your vote share range and your seat share range sometimes is as high in state elections as plus minus 10 seats. It will be even more in a general election. So it will give enough room for people to read what they will. The likelihood is that the exit poll may underestimate what the final result is going to be. Why am I saying that? That happened in 2014, that happened in 2019, when the exit polls showed that a BJP-led government was coming to power, but underestimated the final result. It's not an exact
state
science.
Elections recently, right? They completely underestimated.
They were off.
They were off.
They were off. So they could be off. And that's important to see, that you don't know till June 4th.
Got it. Okay. Anything that you're particularly watching out for, Tamanna, when it comes to these exit polls? Any particular constituency, state, anything else?
So Maharashtra, number one, because nobody can understand what to do in Maharashtra and how to read Maharashtra. Remember, Maharashtra has been a super blockbuster for the NDA because the BJP and the Sena marriage, however troubled it was, worked in the context of Maharashtra. You had the Marathi Manus plus Hindutva combo with the Modi factor all working for them. Now, since 2019, it is shattered in so many pieces and parts that it's difficult to predict whether the core voter is going to vote for Uddhav Thackeray, seeing him as wronged. Will they vote for Eknath Shinde as a proxy because they want to bet on, Prime Minister Modi's continuity? What's going to happen between Sharad Pawar and Ajit Pawar? Now, this Pune Porsche case is, in the mix. So, Maharashtra is the X factor and it's 48 seats. So, Maharashtra is one. I want to see what's happening in Karnataka. The BJP did very well in Karnataka in 2019, but the Congress has won the last state election decisively. Does that put a dent in Karnataka? Does the BJP gain in Odisha? They're going it alone.
Right.
And does their bet on Chandrababu Naidu for the NDA work out in Andhra Pradesh? Because that means a whole change in regime from YSR to YSR Jagan Reddy's party to Andhra Pradesh. So a lot of exciting things to watch out from those exit polls.
And by the way, two very important states, viewers, keep in mind, sorry Sajid, we have very limited time, but just the point that these two states, the BJP haven't had too many seats in 2019, and therefore very interesting. You have 30 seconds to make a point.
I just wanted to ask
30 seconds, Sajid.
Yeah, I just want to ask Tamanna, what role has finances of parties played in this election?
Any thoughts here?
Can you elaborate on that question?
The amount of money they have for campaigning means
obviously. It's an expensive business. It's an expensive business, and after a point, you have to have money yourself as a candidate as well. There is a cap by the Election Commission.
Yes.
On how much you spend, but remember, this is the time of social media. Social media may have evened the ground a bit. As well, but of course finances will play a big role. There's no doubt about it. That's part
I could have given that answer too, by the way.
No, but what I'm hearing is contrary in here from the people who have been there. Many of the, this time you had not only the public sector people volunteering for being on the election duty, but private sector bank employees have been asked to go and do election duty.
Okay.
And the feedback which is coming from there is that, this thing is making a difference on the ground.
Okay, interesting. Well, something that we should dwell upon for sure. But right now, let's try and turn the focus back on what all of this could mean for the market. So, before I come to Samina and Sajid, Agam, to you,
Yeah.
Positioning, in the morning you spoke about a stretch rubber band.
Yeah.
Right? We haven't quite seen that come back with a bang, but we're in the green nevertheless, marginally at that. What do the positions indicate?
Well, at the moment, it does seem like the markets are either complacent or they are very sure of the outcome of the election. The reason I say this is back in 2014, the India Volatility Index, 2 days before the outcome of the election, was at around 35, 37. Come to 2019, once again, the India Volatility Index was at around 34, 35, 36. 2 days before this election, we are at 23 and we're looking at a decline of 6%. What does that indicate? That traders to a certain extent are, well, a bit sure of what's going to happen as far as the outcome is concerned. Secondly, what are your option premiums indicating when it comes to this particular weekly options expiry? Just about a 400 to 500 point move from here on. That's nothing at all. That only means 23,100, 23,200 if you have a favorable outcome. Of course, you have an unfavorable outcome as compared to what the markets are working. That could completely change the factor of the game. But for now, that's what the options market is telling you. About the stretched rubber band, Neeraj, what we actually are looking at the moment is that there, at least until yesterday, there were only 13% longs from the FII point of view, as against 87% shorts. And should things perhaps play in favor of the markets, we will see a trigger of short covering, and that should lead the markets even higher eventually to 23,000, but not much further than that.
Very quickly, I know Sajid wants to come in, but just one very quick question. Me and Samina had spotted this, that the 24,000 strike was also very active. 20,500 was very active 4 or 5 days ago. Are those still active on the call side?
They're active, but to very quickly tell you that there is more of an activity here because there will also be certain hedges further out.
But are they very active?
They're not extremely active.
Not extremely
they're
active
not that active, just about as much as you'd expect.
Got it.
My sense is that there is no directional trade which is getting played in the market today. Like in 2019.
They're going to wait for 1st June.
They're going to wait. No, they're going to wait for 1st June or 3rd June is where the direction trade may come.
1st June evening, in the sense you will know the data and then you know how
because
to react.
We've seen long unwindings happening from foreign investors. There is clearly the play here is about 2,000 crores of Nifty premium open interest turnover. That's the play. That's not because futures. There's a huge unwinding that has happened yesterday for foreign investors. The only DIs have been very stable. They haven't done much. So the play is happening on the options side, on the Nifty options. And if you look at the options premium open interest, that's around 2,000 odd crores, which is under play for the election.
Okay. Now, what is big money doing is also important. Sabina, any thoughts here?
I don't know about big money, but just to put all this in perspective, there's nobody on the street who's talked about 25,000 on the Nifty. So even if Mr. Modi comes with the biggest victory, what is that going to do for the markets? Are we going to go to 25,000? Very unlikely at this stage. And it's got to be realistic about these numbers, right? And to talk to you about just what FIs have been done, because we usually get quite caught up about what foreigners are doing, how do they view the India political setup. Global funds have sold $2.9 billion this month. This is, and of course, most of them have cited not politics, but rich valuations in India, and that's why they're sitting on the sidelines. That's one. Two, what we noticed was FI net short. Now, again, they've been all over the place over the last couple of days, but net shorts have gone up from 5,000 crores to 2.9 lakh crores, 2.9 lakh crores on Thursday. So big move in 1 day of trade between Wednesday and Thursday. And I think Agam and me talked about it this morning, right? When you have a global fund, you have something called an IPS, which is an investment policy statement. During a case when there's geopolitical stress, this also happened at a time when war was on the horizon. Anything that could potentially be a black swan for a specific country or the group. Large funds are not allowed to go naked in that sense. So you have to hedge. And that's not got to do with whether Modi is going to come in with 310, 330, 400. I don't even think that they think of these numbers. All they want is political stability, which is almost a given. The only article that I came across was UBS, which said or painted a scenario that if the ruling government doesn't come in, then there's a 20% downside. But I've not seen any other global brokerage talk about what if. There is no what if. It's a number game, and as long as everything is stable,
Bernstein has 3 scenarios, and one of those 3 scenarios is a situation where the India alliance comes in.
And to be fair, sitting in the country, we find it so hard to tell and go into these conversations. somebody sitting outside is going to go and hedge. I mean, it's a given, right?
Yeah, it's a given.
yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe that's what's played out in the last 24 to 48 hours. A lot of long positions were built. Maybe what has just happened is these significant long positions have been unwound, and there are some hedges that have been built around it. Because why should a fund which has got large amounts of money here go into it naked long or naked short or not have a hedge?
And
So I think it's an important point.
There is not too much of time. I mean, this time, of course, you're reacting on a market day.
Yeah.
So you can't hit an upper circuit. You're not going to get a 10% rally on day one at 10 a.m.
Right.
once we know the results. The last time this happened, you had the outcome on the weekend and the markets opened on Monday.
By the way, it's not going to be as volatile as you think because there have been some regulations put in by the regulator.
No, in fact, I don't think. I think they did this in a study with 32 managers, and they said you might see a 2 to 3% uptick one way or the other. So it may not be as insane in that sense.
I want to
Very
paint these
quickly, 20
scenarios.
seconds,
No, I want to paint these scenarios. So BJP over 303 does, or maybe best case closer to 350 odd. The market is still placid?
No, I don't think so.
Goes nuts.
Goes nuts.
Okay.
What is going nuts?
Going nuts is
3-4% uptick?
at the very least, yes. I would suspect. The only caveat is that because we are sitting at circa 23,000, it's not a cheap valuation.
So that's why we corrected
the possibility
about
of
We corrected 4%. We did 4% from
the
the
possibility of the
And-
downside being
And
extended
Modi ji
if the
did
verdict
say
is not
that
in
on 4th
favor
of June,
is
the
much higher.
markets will
Sorry.
go crazy, na?
Okay, but
Systems will go crazy.
so programmers. actually.
Programmers.
No,
will
so
go
300 plus BJP. You're saying I'm saying 315 plus. Market goes nuts. BJP sub 303, even a 290. They can run the government even on their own technically, but sentimentally.
Yeah, as you said in the morning as well, Tamanna, that market may want to believe that, oh, maybe they can't go with all the policies that they want, even though they're in a simple majority. I think the worry is only if they are below the majority mark.
No, I'm saying range
then
bound,
sells.
then not
Yeah,
nuts,
range bound, I
but
would
little
reckon.
happy.
Yeah.
And of course, then black swan scenario, which is not being expected by anyone. But then if there is a split house, uncertainty, then you have sharp pain.
Yeah, but just one last point that I want to leave with this, it's a simple thing we've discussed enough number of times, but there's a graphic that our producer Mahima has made out here about the Nifty performance, and just good to remind everybody every single time. Look at what the indices do 1 month, 3 months, 6 months later. Sometimes they correct, sometimes they fall, but over a 5-year period from 2009 to 2014, 14 to 19 and 19 to 24, the markets have given rallies of 55%, 52% and 75% respectively. So over the long term, it's all good.
And I think this is all very critical for a trader. As an investor, if you're doing staggered investments, this is actually doesn't do anything in terms of your equity portfolio.
So
It's great conversation.
So SIP is in the bag,
SIP
basically.
is the way to
Especially
go.
if it's coming into force in the first week of the month.
Exactly, you know
So either
exactly.
way, SIP
Double
is
down,
zindabad.
upfront, वो सब कर सकते हैं SIP के साथ.
Nevertheless, I think we can go on and on with this conversation, but we need to address the markets as well and see what's happening there. So we'll take a very short break. We're coming back with F&O strategy, top picks, and what you should do to set yourself for a very, very exciting week. Stay tuned.